Councillor Pullinger was coming in on screen. He's not there yet. Okay, do we have any declarations of interest, please, in any item on the agenda? No. Okay, well, I have a couple of announcements. On the 17th of October, I attended the Mayor of Amptill's civic service, hosted by Councillor Mark Smith at St Andrew's Church in Amptill, with refreshments afterwards in the chapter house. The Lord Lieutenant was in attendance, and as ever, the British Legion and members of cadet units were on parade. Yesterday, the 25th of October, Councillor Woodhead and I visited the Air Cadets, or more formally, the Biggleswade Squadron of the Air Training Corps. We were able to talk to the officer commanding, Flight Lieutenant Amanda Wilson, to understand more about the squadron and what it does. We also watched some squad drill, and later I was able to talk to the cadets. I talked about the 3 levels of governance that affect them and that they will later be able to vote for, and encourage them to vote when they're old enough. Councillor Woodhead and I then also talked to them about what the Town Council does and what it's responsible for. Flight Lieutenant Wilson expressed a wish for the squadron to be more involved in the life of the town on appropriate occasions. Thank you. Public open session. Does any member of the public wish to speak at this point? This is on any item on the agenda. No. Okay, I'm assuming we've got nobody online. We've got no invited speaker. Do we have any members' questions, please, colleagues? No. Okay. Right, we're on to the minutes of the meeting of the 21st of September. So not the last meeting, this is the 21st of September. And the minutes start on page 5 of our pack. So I'm going through them for accuracy, please. So page 5, page 6, page 7. Councillor Strawn.
Yes, Madam Mayor, on the top of page 7, item 10.9i, Councillor Fage said, I think in fact it should be correctly Councillor G. Fage said, to avoid any confusion in the future. And there's a couple of points in that paragraph, and there's one a bit later on where the same thing applies.
Thank you for that. Yes, that's an oversight. We'll put that right. Anything else on page 7? Page 8. Councillor Knight.
Thank you. Item 9C, the second paragraph. I did check the recording. There was no mention of Joshua in the meeting. Thank you.
Town Clerk, can you clarify?
Absolutely. Councillor Knight's correct. This is incorrect on the minutes.
So that line should be removed from the minutes. So the signatories that we're adding are the 2 heads of service. Thank you very much.
That's correct.
Anything else on page 8? Page 9? Page 10? Page 11? Thank you. I'm now going through the minutes again for any matters arising. So page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11. So no matters arising. Items for consideration. The first one is play area improvements, and I understand we have a verbal update from Mr. Hosseini, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So there were 4 actions arising from the PLOS committee, Public Land and Open Spaces meeting, held in September. I can confirm that of those actions, I have a draft letter which I've pulled together. It's actually here, which should be ready to go for the play area in question regarding the consultation that we were seeking to engage with residents of that area. My suggestion is that we potentially consider holding on issuing that letter out whilst we're in the neighbourhood plan public consultation period, because it might just create extra, well, it might actually invite extra feedback at the same time, but it might create sort of a parallel channel, if you like, of consultation. That's on that item there. Later this week, indeed, I was supposed to be doing that today with the public realm manager. We will be writing a draft report for and a draft strategy, if you like, for the play areas, which will pick up on at least 2 play areas as exemplars, if you like, as good practice areas for what we're seeking to achieve with improving the play areas as part of the strategy. And we'll provide those to the town clerk by the end of this week for consideration, and then sharing onward for the next, hopefully in time for the next PLOS committee, certainly. That should pick up those actions that we had. I'll pause there.
Yeah, may I respond?
Yes, of course.
I'd like to say I'm rather disappointed that we don't see we've got any further with this, to be perfectly honest. The meeting of the PLOS meetings on the 28th of September, does it really take almost a month to compose a letter to send out to the residents of Buttercup? I mean, this item has been outstanding for a very, very long time. I'm also disappointed that we have nothing in writing of any strategic nature to do with the play areas. I'm very sorry, but I'm not very impressed with the way things have progressed on this. Thank you.
Councillor Fage.
Yeah, I think, look, we've got to be careful because there's a number of competing priorities at the moment, including various events for the town centre, the neighbourhood plan. We have the Land North consultation, which has just ended, and we've got a planning committee probably coming up quite soon. So staff are stretched. But if I might just say, I mean, the timelines are the timelines, and PLOS also, I think, agreed, if I'm not mistaken, I don't have the minutes to hand, but I think PLOS, the Public Land and Open Spaces Committee, agreed that there should be some meeting of interested members to trawl through the detail of the audit that the Public Realm Manager has put together prior to something coming back to the committee, whenever that next committee meeting might be. So yes, it is starting those strategic discussions, where I'm pretty sure members need to be involved in them as well, because that's what the committee decided.
Thank you. Town Clerk.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Fage in regard to interpretation. I think there is some progress being made, maybe not as much as we'd ideally like, but I'd reiterate again what Councillor Fage said. There's a huge amount of work for officers at the moment, and they're playing catch up to that degree. What I think is a massive credit to the to the PLOS manager is that actually we've even done this audit. It's been many, many years in coming, and there's a huge amount of hard work that went into that. So I give some credit to him for doing that work, and I'm sure that we will fast forward and get things done. Looking at Karim now. Thank you.
I agree that absolutely. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. So there's no decision there. We've noted the update. Thank you. On to planning applications. The first one is 10 Broadmead, single-storey rear extension and two-storey side extension. Any comments, please, colleagues?
Subject to neighbours.
Thank you. 15 Redmond Gardens. First floor rear extension. Beg your pardon? Are we all happy? Shout if you're not on these subject to neighbours ones. 57 Church Street, conversion from hair salon to residential. Any?
So no objection, but it should be noted that we have to take into account the memo from Guy Quint, the second of the 2 memos listed about blocking out noise.
Okay.
In the construction.
And what the man's name is Guy Quince.
That was the town councillor who wrote the memo that this needed to happen. for this technology. He also did not object when he made a comment provision that adequate soundproofing is maintained.
Okay, councillor Bond.
Guy Quince is environmental officer at Central Beds, does things like acoustics and noise. So when you see any of these conversions for kitchens or new buildings with acoustic issues, he'll be, his name's normally on the documents.
Okay, so he has asked that proper soundproofing be done.
Yes, he's normally very competent.
Okay, so we've got a proposal of no objection, but asking the planners to take particular note of the paper from Guy Quince. Are we happy with that? Yes, thank you. And then we've got 7 Cooper's Close, single story side extension. Any comments?
Subject to neighbours.
Thank you. Will somebody please tell the planners that Dunton Lane is not in King's Reach? Dunton Lane, telecommunications development. We had something on this, I think, at the last meeting. Councillor Fage?
We did have something on this at the last meeting, and we resolved, I seem to recall, to write to the people who are putting in the application in the hope that we could start a dialogue about potentially finding a better location. Here we are, what, 2 or 3 weeks on, and it seems as though that perhaps hasn't been heeded for whatever reason. So we now have a planning application in front of us. I'm as equally as uncomfortable with this position as we've ever been with this 5G mast. So look, whilst I think we can welcome investment in this technology and improve signal for people, particularly in that part of town which is desperately needed, that doesn't mean we have to just accept any old location because it happens to be slightly more convenient to another. So I'd like to propose that we object to this planning application, strongly object to the location of this mast. It's on a nicely mown, important piece of grass, which is an entrance point to our town, one of only 5 entrance points to our town. It's quite pretty in springtime with daffodils and things, and for that to be replaced and to be welcomed instead by a 15-metre tall mast, I think is entirely unacceptable. So I'd like to propose that we strongly object to this, but in the good spirit of encouraging this kind of investment, the application does mention some other sites which were considered, and position D3 seems to be, which by the way is just at the bottom of Juno Place, as far as I can tell, pretty much on the industrial estate, would be much more hidden as you enter into the town. I think that would be far more acceptable. It seems to be ruled out on the grounds that it's too close to Stratton Moat, despite the fact that the proposed location, which is part of this application, is actually even closer to Stratton Moat. So I'd like us to go back, strongly objecting to this location on the grounds that it harms the visual impact of the town as you enter into it, but constructively proposing that they go back and look at D3, and we could perhaps indicate that that's the sort of location that we'd be more willing to support. So I'd like to propose that, please.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bond.
Can I just ask Town Clerk, did we have any response to our letter when after it was raised at council a few weeks ago?
I'm afraid not. I haven't seen any.
So we want to regret that there hasn't been any dialogue with them. We want to welcome the investment. We want to strongly object to the location because of being one of the main entrances into the town. And we want to suggest that position D3 would be more acceptable. It's actually less close to Stratton Moat than the position that's being proposed here. Is that okay? Right. All those in favour, please. That's unanimous, apart from Councillor Bond, of course. Councillor Page, yeah?
Sorry, something I forgot. So just a question whether we could perhaps, rather than lumping this in with all the other planning applications, I know how we normally respond, we sort of list them. I feel that this sort of deserves its own letter in its own right. Perhaps that's something that we could, if we have tried to make dialogue with the applicant, maybe try again but informing them of our views on the application that's been submitted.
So are you suggesting that we send a copy of our letter to the applicants as well, so that they know exactly what we feel? Because that would be give them another chance for dialogue.
Yeah, I think yeah, if that's okay for a second proposal. Sorry, I probably should have included that when I spoke first time, but I can't see any harm in doing so.
Is everybody happy with that? So we send a copy of the letter that we send back to the planners, to the developer. Okay, thank you. And then we've got the works to trees in 81 Shortmead Street. Any comments about this, please?
Note it.
Are we happy noting it? Okay, thank you. And then we're on to planning application outcomes. We've got the report in front of us. Does anybody wish to raise any issue? Councillor Alban.
On page 16 or page 3 of this report, Church Street Asda store. Now this dates back to the 10th of November 2020, and it's about varying opening hours. Now at the time, I think we assumed it was for Christmas opening, so we're kind of getting on the way to the next Christmas, and it's still awaiting decision. So, I mean, is that correct? That it's still awaiting decision? I didn't have the chance to look it up myself, but it just seems very strange that it's that old.
Okay, so we can check that one out just to see if that's still awaiting decision. And if so, why? I think we need to know, don't we? Anything else on this report, please?
Note it.
Thank you. Right. And the next is items for information. Action under urgency powers. Any comments, anybody?
Karim, do you want to do a quick update on this? If the Mayor's happy with that?
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you. Thank you. So, excuse me. So preparations for festive season Christmas event are well underway, as we might expect at this time, as it's fast approaching. Rest assured, we're on top of all the elements which have been agreed already by council, and indeed we'll be continuing those discussions with the new kind of working arrangements we have in place with members on this, hopefully this week, diaries permitting. In terms of the specific item here raised here of the shortfall of £617.15, excluding before VAT, this relates specifically to a previous supplier, essentially, which was not able to provide us with a stage with an extended plinth, as I call it, in front of the stage, at a cost of £1,333 plus VAT, and therefore, for reasons I won't go into, it's just we weren't able to contact them. When we contacted them, we weren't able to kind of get an answer from them. We therefore resorted to another supplier who came in for essentially a larger, more sophisticated stage, which has a covering for the weather, for poor weather, and it has lights incorporated as part of the original expenditure. That came in at that has come in at £1,950.15 plus VAT, which essentially is a difference of £617.15 plus VAT. So that's the rationale, but that is in keeping with I think the sentiment of what members of and what we're planning for Christmas, to have essentially at least as good, if not offering that we had in recent years, and also with a bigger, more resilient health and safety compliant stage, so that we can have performance on that level and just immediately before it.
Can I just be clear about the rationale here? The supplier was quite adamant, I think, here, if a decision wasn't made immediately, there was a possibility, or rather a strong possibility, that we would lose out. Is that right?
Thank you. I was led to believe indeed that was the case, that there was, these things are in hot demand, particularly with this time of year, and therefore that was the case. I should add that actually that the supplier has worked quite tirelessly with us to assist us in what we're seeking to achieve, and will be including 2 snow machines as well at no charge for it to enhance the effects of the snow, the stage and performance.
And you'll be meeting with the chair of TCM to give them a further, more detailed update.
Absolutely,
On
like I
Christmas.
say, diaries permitting for this week. Absolutely, yes. Thanks.
Okay, can we note that update, please? Yes, thank you. We have a letter from Keach Cottage thanking us for the grant. Can we note that, please?
Note it.
Thank you. And then Councillor Woodhead, you're going to give us an update on Remembrance Sunday, please.
Thanks. Just to bring everyone up to speed, obviously we've got the Remembrance Sunday coming up on the 14th of November. We also have Armistice Day on the 11th as well, on the Thursday beforehand. But in terms of the main BTC activity, it's going to be the Sunday. We've had a couple of planning meetings already in relation to that. First one just with Diane and Terry from the Royal British Legion in Biggleswade, and then the second one we invited as many of the uniformed organisations, volunteer groups along as possible to come along. We talked that through. I mean, the format is broadly similar to previous years with a sort of few tweaks. So I know that Alison and Diane in the office here are sort of taking some of that forward along with Karim as well. So all is looking good for that. It's also been very pleasing that a number of service personnel who are either connected to Biggleswade or live in Biggleswade have come forward to sort of volunteer their services as well. So hopefully we'll have a few more parade marshals and things like that may not have had in previous years, because I'm aware obviously the town has the affiliation with the Royal Artillery, but for various reasons they haven't been able to put people forward or deliver on that. So it's nice to have at least a connection with some of the serving personnel at the moment. So that's all going quite well. I think we probably just need one more update before as we run up to the 14th to make sure we've crossed the T's and dotted the I's. But I'm pretty confident that most things will happen in the way they should do, in the respectful and appropriate way. The program's being pulled together as well, and obviously the music, and I know the mayor's agreed to a reading and things like that. So it's all fingers crossed, all coming together quite well, and we'll just check in one more time before the 14th, I think.
Thank you. Councillor Strawn and Councillor North.
Thank you, Mayor. What's the situation with regard to the policing of the event on the day and road closures as necessary, please?
My understanding is, and Kareem may be able to add a bit more, is that we will be closing the also the White Hart car park, but also the High Street to enable obviously the parade to go past, and it will be a policed event as well. We've had, I think, commitment from the police that they will put PCs and PCSOs on site to help manage the traffic and obviously the event itself.
Yes, Councillor Strong.
Just coming back on that, have appropriate road closure notices, if appropriate, being given, because I think we've had to consult with CBC in the past or something on this.
Yeah, I understand. So Kareem has told me, I mean, you may want to add more, but I understand they've already been applied for and put in. So.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, we are engaging with CBC on that and lots of other events as well, key events.
Thank you. Councillor North.
Bearing in mind the comments made earlier in the meeting, have you invited the Air Cadets to participate in the event?
Oh, very much so. We reminded them last night about the parade and all the other voluntary units that I've spoken to, and I think the guides and the brownies and the scouts were involved in the meeting I had the other week, and the Sea Cadets as well. So they're all fully aware of what they're going to be doing, and we're pulling together the order of the parade itself as well. So, but yes, they're very much wanting to be involved and being part of the event really.
In fact, Councillor North, the squad drill we saw last night was in preparation for Remembrance Sunday. Okay, so we can note that update.
Kareem's got.
Oh, sorry, Kareem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one other thing in terms of the preparations for this. Just this morning, we've painted on the War Memorial the railings in black and gold topped, just to freshen it all up. So that's just happened this morning.
Yes.
And in addition, obviously, we're getting the third quote in for the stonemasons and working with central beds to try and make sure that's a nice kind of tidier than it currently is.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, and just one last thing. I don't know if we've made any progress on the coronet on top of the flagpole yet, or if that's going to be sorted for the 14th.
So I've had discussions and asked colleagues to reach out and start doing that extra work.
Because now it's been pointed out to me that it's missing. Every time I walk past it, I've spotted it, whereas I didn't see it before, but other people have told me it's missing. So it's kind of slightly niggling with it. It's not that, but if we can do our best to get that sorted, that'd be wonderful.
We're sourcing something.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're done on that. So another public open session. Mr. Reynolds.
Firstly, I'd like to congratulate UTC on the way in which they keep the house a clean, tidy, free of litter. However, walk 50 yards down Hitchin Street and you come across Bonds Lane, and it's been a disaster area for years. Now that we've got a development going on, two questions. Firstly, can the town council confirm that developer or CBC are going to re-tarmac that road and make it fit for purpose with a path, please, with a pedestrian path? And secondly, can anybody tell me why there are 26 refuse bins parked on the side of the street? I mean, if I did that, I'd soon be told to put it back inside the perimeter of my property. All those are industrial units there, and they've got space, and they've got all these big industrial waste bins all on the side of the road. Just makes it look absolutely awful.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. You're exactly right. And I think I noticed when I went past the other day that actually that part of Bonds Lane is going to be closed for quite a considerable time. So I think we might need to ask our Central Beds Ward councillors to find out what's going on, please. And to bring up the points about resurfacing and about what we can do with the bins, because actually you're quite right, because walking down Bonds Lane, there isn't room for a car and a pedestrian by the bins, and that's not at all safe, particularly with the quieter cars now. I had one come up behind me the other day and I had no idea there was a car there until they bipped the hooter really loud and I jumped out my skin. So you're quite right on that. Was there something you wanted to add to that?
No, it's just I feel that it just looks awful with those bins, and I think, you know, there's no excuses for shops or anything like that, or even residential. There's places for them to park, and I think it's just laziness. Leave it out there, nobody will say anything. And as I say, if any resident left their bins on the road, they would soon be, you know, and it is a road, and I would like a pedestrian path down that side as well.
Yeah. We'll see what we can do, because obviously the highways is Central Bedfordshire, but we'll see about possible resurfacing and about a pathway. We'll see if we can find out what's going on, and also about the closure, because that's going to be a bit difficult for the bin people as well, isn't it? Okay, I'm not aware of any other members of the public, so I now have to ask council to pass the resolution that it's advisable in the public interest that the public and press are excluded while some exempt items are discussed. So I now declare this part of the meeting closed. Thank you. Good night, Mr. Reynolds.